Hello, and welcome to another episode of Shampoo and Booze. This is episode number 31 at shampooandbooze.com. I very much enjoyed the interview that was posted last week.
Yeah, last week we did an interview, or we recorded a conversation. It's with our friend Katie, who's in Seattle. She's very cool. We've kind of known her for a couple of years, and we kind of like have this parallel life where we both sell online, selling stuff on eBay and Amazon, but then we also rent as well. And she just had this really cool story about how some teens were able to kind of get through the system, rent her house, and kind of trash it.
Yeah,
and she had a really great story about how she dealt with it, and it all turned out well for the most part. But you know, that's the nightmare that everyone has, you know, and we get emails from people like, I'm thinking about doing this, but what happens if? Well, we did the story of what happens if. You just deal with it. And Katie actually gave some good advice on how to prepare it yourself, just in case something like that does happen.
Right.
You know?
She dealt with it very well, I thought.
So if you haven't heard that interview, just check out the blog, and that was from it last week. So the first thing I noticed that on Airbnb, they have a new feature. I like when they add these little things. It's called Saved. It's messages.
Yes.
It's so smart, and the way they've integrated it into their system is very nice and simple. And it's perfect for when you're telling the same thing to different people.
Which you do often.
And so what I was doing was on my laptop, I just had text documents.
Right.
That I would just copy and paste. But this is great because you can save it right inside of Airbnb. And it's really easy to add, edit. There doesn't seem to be a limit. So, you know, I have one for like self-check-in and like, you know, it's when are you checking out, and, you know, our dog policy, and just all the things I'm telling people all the time.
All the time, yep. Like people will go to book, but they're like, is it okay if we have a dog? It's really well trained. You just paste that information in and send it to them.
Now, I wish, though, that this was also on the phone as well, or on the mobile app.
Oh, so it's not on the phone?
It's not on the mobile app.
See, that's crazy.
Yeah,
you're like, come on.
We do, you know, we try and message people back, like, immediately.
Yeah.
You know, if people are asking about wanting to rent.
Yeah.
And it's not, I wish that they would have that in there.
Right.
They don't. So.
Well, I would hope that they would be implementing that soon, because that's helpful.
So on our quest.
It is a quest.
And it's, you know, this is what happens with any business, you know.
Yeah. So
we clean the house ourselves. We've been getting a lot of good advice from people that say just hire a house cleaner. So we're, you know, starting that its process. And we interviewed our first person. She was someone kind of recommended locally, a friend of a friend. We had her come over and we walked around the house, and she's a very nice,
a nice person.
And she cleans a lot of other people's cabins, so she's not amateur. She's a pro. But it kind of felt a little unprofessional to us. She complained extensively about her other properties, just about the guests, about the owners, about the clean, about the messes. And
so, like, for me, and I've heard this in other professions too, when you're a freelancer, you know, never do this. You never complain about your other clients, because you're trying to make this person your client. So who are you going to complain about them to, you know? So...
And then, you know, and again, this might have been our fault because it was our first time doing this. We were just like, tell us what would happen, you know, like...
How does this work?
I was kind of thinking like she was running her own business, like a cleaning business, and she would tell us how it would work. When she wanted us to tell her how it worked, and she even asked us how much we would pay her, and I didn't know what to tell her. I was like, I don't know. How much are your rates? How much do you normally charge?
Yeah, it's really weird.
And then I was just like, look, think about it. Email us, and then, you know, a price, and then we can talk about it. Maybe next time we should think of a number of what we're willing to pay. I would love to hear from other people that do have a house cleaner. Are you the one that said how much you were going to pay, or don't they do it?
See,
you know?
I guess coming from the freelance world, like I'm a freelance video editor in my other career, and I have a set price. This is how much I charge per hour, and this is how much I charge per
Yeah, I mean, it would be very unprofessional for us to tell a client, like, well, how much are you willing to pay me? I mean,
like,
they want to know, how much are you charging? You know?
What's your rate?
Like your hourly rate?
So
or
that was very
job
confusing
rate?
to me, because she kept saying, but, well, how much would you pay me? And we were like, well, how much do you charge?
Yeah.
It was very confusing.
It was also interesting too. In these other places she cleans, she says that she has a tip jar.
Yeah.
So guests can leave a tip. She also says that when a guest will leave bags of trash, they can leave her $5 per bag of trash that they want her to deal with. And again, that's something that, I don't know, is that normal? I mean, for me, it's like it's with the cleaner. I'm paying them, you know.
Right.
I want to pay them a fair price, like where they feel good about it. But then I don't want them dealing with the clients,
like charging our clients on top of that.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, so I don't know. That didn't feel right to me.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, we didn't say that. It's just interesting. I don't know if that's a normal thing.
We just felt confused. Yeah. I mean, we were just like, we don't deal with things like that.
I think, too, it's just, I feel, too, she might be dealing with cabin owners where we live. That's kind of like the old school cabin owners. Like, she was a surprise that we wanted her to make the beds, when I guess maybe in the other places they provide sheets, but they just kind of get piled on the bed, and then the people. But she also says that she deals with cabins that have 30 beds.
Yes, she did. She did mention
huge,
that,
like a lodge.
A huge
would be
lodge.
Crazy, but
so that's a little bit different. But I think what was funny too is that she was. Like, we had been cleaning. She came over while we were cleaning. So I had just made up the beds in one of the rooms. And they were like, did you guys make this bed? And I'm like, yes, I did. I don't understand the question.
Yeah.
So,
it's just, I think, a different expectation. It might be different age groups, too. I think younger people want to rent places that are like a hotel.
It's like a hotel.
I'm walking in.
Yeah.
The beds are made. There are towels. There's some soap. I mean, it's just, I'm walking into a hotel-like situation versus, I think, maybe older people, baby boomers. There's more an expectation when you're doing a vacation, a rental, where it's like you're renting it's like
what? I don't know.
I mean, you're just renting a space, but you have to bring everything. Coffee filters, soap, even the sheets sometimes, you're expected to bring it all.
I have never experienced that in my life, of renting any. And here's the thing. When we travel, we don't want to rent a place like that. So I want to cater to the people who are like us, who are expecting, certain things.
So I think just maybe the next time we find someone to interview, we need to have a better story for ourselves. We should say up front,
this is what we do.
This is what we expect. But I would love to hear if we need to be the ones to set the price versus, them telling us how much they would charge us.
Well, I talked to someone else who did cleaning a while ago. They had just mentioned, we do cabin cleanings, and we had talked to them, and we probably will talk to them again. And she was like, well, I have to come see the house to see how much I would charge.
Sure.
So that, to me, set it in my brain, like, they're going to, tell me how much it costs.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like when we bid on a video job, it's like, well, tell us, the scope of the amount of work, and then we look at the scope, and then we're like, okay, it's going to be X amount of dollars.
Right.
And I think the other thing, too, is, she's very nice, but she says she doesn't do email, she doesn't do text. Her daughter does all that stuff for her, and that's cool, but I would really love to work with someone where I could have an immediate back and forth through text. Like, we don't have to go through a lot of conversation, like phone calls, like, it can be very quick, very simple. So we're one step down the quest.
Yeah, that's the quest.
All right, so in our rental, in our farmhouse, what do we do this week?
Well, one of the things that I did was, we'd been wanting to do this for a while. There's a big recreational area lake, walking distance from our rental, which is awesome. And so what we really needed was a flyer to highlight, look, this is right down the street. It costs $2 to go swimming.
And the like flyer that our town puts out for the public is not well designed, you know.
It's not designed.
It's just like
it's just text.
It's like big blocks of text. There's a lot of info that like someone just coming here for a
doesn't
weekend
need to know.
Doesn't need. So actually, as Ryan was good, she basically grabbed the info that was important and made a new flyer.
And when we went to the lake the other day when we were cleaning, and we snapped a photo. So we have a nice big color photo. We have a cool little flyer. And the other thing I did, so we printed those out, put them in the booklet, and put it on the refrigerator so people see that. And that really helps our property to be like, check out this awesome place. It's right here. The other thing that Jay kept telling me to do this, is make a graphic that goes on our Airbnb posting and our VRBO posting. But make it clear that this is not on our property.
Yeah. I really dislike when we're trying to rent an Airbnb and people put photos of like a beach or a lake or something, and it makes it seem like it's right there. Like we actually rented a place on the coast, and they had a picture of the beach. I really thought
the house was on the beach.
We were going to walk outside and there was going to be a beach right there. What they meant was 5 miles away.
You can drive to the
beach. There's a beach. Now, that was my fault. We were still kind of early days.
Yeah, it was early.
Renting this stuff, but I don't like that. So how do we solve that problem?
So what I did was I used the flyer, and I modified the flyer I made because it was too big to show a picture of the lake. I put a little map from Google Maps that shows this is walking distance from the house. And I say, walking distance from the house, 0.5 mile. You know, it's half a mile. It's pretty close. And then I have a little paragraph that's like, you can do this stuff at Lake Arrowhead just down the street, you know?
Yeah, so I think that makes me feel better. The other thing that I just think is that doesn't help me to choose an Airbnb is when people put a lot of details in their photos. Like, I want to see pictures of rooms. I want to see the bathroom, the kitchen. I want to see like the space. I don't need to see a close-up of a flower in a vase. I don't need to see like a table that has like a plate and some nice forks. You know? I don't need to see little details.
Right.
The details is what I see when I'm there.
When I get
and I'm
there.
like, wow, look at all these details. I don't need to see that when I'm actually thinking of renting.
Yeah.
Show me things that are like real space.
I want to see the space.
Yeah.
The bedroom, the bathroom. My sister is renting a room in her apartment in Boston, and the first picture she put up when she put her listing was a picture of flowers on a table.
Yeah.
And while that looks beautiful, I'm like, you have to show the bedroom. That is the first thing that people want to see. She changed it.
Right.
But
I mean, and I noticed that we actually had a photo of like a butterfly on a flower.
Jay was like, take that down. We had that one. Well, that was showing the yard, but we have wider photos of the yard that, just show the wide photo of the yard. And then we had a picture of like these like funky tiles that we have behind the oven.
And they're cool.
They're cool, but Jay's like, take those off. So I took them off. Yeah. So it's pictures of the
other people may not agree, but I feel like the details are not what I need to see when I'm buying the space.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and this month, I will say, it felt kind of slow, or I felt like we weren't, but it kind of like has picked up. So we're going to make $3,400 this month in June. I
love it.
Which is great. We try, $4,000 for us is a great month. So $3,400, we're almost there. Yeah. And that's mainly because we started getting some more people book, and we'll kind of talk about that in a second when we do our numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, so our river house, this second rental that we bought that we're in the process of renovating.
It's near the river.
Yeah.
When we make the listing, we won't show a photo of the river like it's it's on our property.
It's across the street, but you have access to the river.
Exactly.
So we're building this driveway, and it's one of those things where you're like, it'd be cool to have a driveway. It's starting to be like, wow, this is a serious
project.
Earth-moving
Literally
project.
earth-moving project.
But it's good. We got a good guy.
Yeah.
He actually came out this past week with a piece of equipment. We walked it. He was telling us exactly what he was going to do.
Yep.
We love it. And
we love him, and that's why we've been patient, because he's done work for us before.
He's like my grandpa.
He's a neighbor of the farmhouse. He lives right down the street from the farmhouse, so he knows us.
So that was good. When equipment starts showing up, that's the best sign.
Yes.
So this project, it's going to be big. It's, whatever it is what it is. But when it's done, it's going to be awesome.
It will change that property.
And once that driveway was gone, then we can finish on the house itself.
Yeah.
And we'll rent that thing.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so let's talk about our numbers. So, again, the way we like to judge our success is to count how many nights booked we have in 2016. So there are 365 nights in a year. So in 2016, we now have 164 nights booked.
We want to get to 200.
200 is kind of our goal. So that's good. So it's 164 nights that have either already been stayed in or people have booked in its future. So in the past 2 weeks, because we didn't do a podcast is last week. So in the past 2 weeks, we've had 9 nights booked.
Yay! Is great. Yeah. I love 9 nights. Not all together, but
there was like one evening when we had 2 people book
and one person inquire. So it was 3 in a row. It was like, whoa.
That noise that the Airbnb app makes on the phone is really, it hits my reptile brain,
and you do have a reptile brain.
I'm just like, what?
Yeah, no, and what sucks is when it makes that noise and it's just someone being like, do you guys have extra towels? Can you provide extra towels? Or you're like, I thought someone was booking. Yeah. They should have different sounds for booking versus a message. Kind of like eBay. When you sell something, it goes cha-ching. Yep. But when someone asks a message, it just says,
But like we had, it's last a week, a couple is going to come this coming week, and they're staying during the week.
The week, yes.
They booked 3 nights. So good. It's perfect. They're coming down from, it's New York. They're just coming 2 people. They just want to get away from a city, and it's perfect. And that's really where the business is when we can book the middle of the week.
That's the best.
Because I looked, almost every weekend is booked between now and like September.
Yeah.
There's a couple of weekends that aren't booked yet, but the weekends are like a done deal.
Oh, the weekends are easy.
It's really the business is during the week.
Yep.
And, I guess you can really lower your price. I don't know. It's just one of those things.
We're trying to fill in those weekdays. Okay, so recently Memorial Day happened in May, and that weekend was booked for 3 nights because we had a minimum of 3 nights. You can set it so that certain long weekends can be set for a 3-night minimum. And it was booked for $900.
Yeah, so that's one thing we were able to do. It's this year Airbnb allowed us where you can block off a certain times where people have to book more than what you normally allow. So normally it's 2 nights.
Right.
On these special weekends, it's where you have to book all 3 nights.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, because we know it's almost a guarantee that someone's going to book.
Yeah.
We put the price up high, $300 a night. So that one weekend we made $900.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's awesome.
That's very, very helpful.
That's when it all pays off.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what did those renters leave behind? They left us a beer and a huge onion. What a great meal. An onion and a beer.
Yeah, we always love when people leave things behind.
Yeah.
I almost want to tell them, feel free to leave anything in the fridge. I feel like that would be... I don't want people to feel compelled. I want to be like, go ahead and leave it.
We'll eat it. Yeah. That sounds weird,
So actually, I made a big, a Mexican meal with that.
The big onion. It was really good. Okay, so you can call our voicemail line and leave a question or a comment. The phone number is 540-407-8486. And I'm happy to say we have several calls today.
Hi, this is Beth from Minnesota. I'm a listener on both your podcasts. My question today is, as you prepare a notebook for your guests, I'm wondering what kind of a format do you provide information about the area and attractions and maps? Do you customize a map, or just tell me a little more about what it looks like. And the other question is, I was a previous caller about insurance, and I found out that State Farm and American Family will not cover a vacation rental. And my friend who has a Airbnb rental recommended CBiz. And I'm wondering if you had any feedback, other people could give me feedback about their coverage of any claims or what they know about CBiz. Thank you.
Okay, so yes, we do leave a little notebook type thing for people, and mainly what's in there is the first 2 pages are like house rules, right? Like, this is what we expect. This is where the laundry is. Blah, 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 blah.
And they're very simple. Like, we don't get into like a legalese. Like, I see some people putting in like, basically it's like a legal contract.
Right.
And look, if people feel like they need to do that, that's fine. The way we do it is more of just kind of like a best practice is what we expect,
Right. Yeah, so we have that, and then actually Airbnb allows you online to make a guidebook. So you'll like put little pins on like the restaurants you like, the shops you like, the hospital, the CVS, the liquor store, stuff like that. And so what I do is they allow you to print that out, but their print version is horrible. Like, it cuts maps in the middle, like, and between 2
it's really strange because Airbnb is a very well designed site.
Yeah,
like they really seem to be proud of their
design
of their website. So it's very strange that someone hasn't looked at what they actually print out. So Ryan had to like, because she's good at that. You manually.
I manually do the thing where I bring it up on the page, I take a screenshot of that, I open it up in preview, and then I print that on my color printer. That's crazy, but I do it, and it looks really good. And then what we also do is in the back of that, we put in like little rack cards for like the vineyard that's in our town. There's a place that makes whiskey in our town, so we like put little things like that, and we're like, hey, you can go here on Saturdays, you can do a tour of this.
Menus, so if people want to order in food or if they want to go eat,
they want to go get breakfast.
I will say though, I am very careful not to overdo it. Yes. We have been to Airbnbs and people will have like a little binder, and it's just stuffed full with rec cards and it's mimeograph sheets of like
mimeograph. How old are you?
A Xerox.
yeah. No, it's like
and it's
overwhelming.
Everything's dirty and folded, and it's kind of just shoved in there. We actually have it again. Ryan did a good job where she got these little plastic sheets, and you kind of like were able to embed them in these plastic sheets, so it actually looks nice.
And we basically just try to do our recommendations. We're like, these are the restaurants we like. These are the things we like to do.
Right. We only put stuff in there that we think is cool.
Right.
It's like when you go to like a motel, like a kind of a cheap motel hotel, they'll have that wall in the lobby cards. Of just there's everything about it. And I find like some people on who have Airbnbs, they basically just do that. They aren't making a choice whether something's cool or not. If there's a rack card, they just throw it in there. And so it's never a useful thing.
Right, it's too much information.
So we only put stuff we think is cool. At the end of the day, the most important thing is just to put the name of the place, and the address and phone number, so that way people can then just put that into their GPS,
into their phones,
and they can find it, and there's a phone number so they can call if they need to make a reservation.
So just keep it simple. And a lot of times too, when we're checking people in, we'll just be like, check out this place, oh, where should we go do a wine tasting? Down at this place, so it's good when you recommend places to people.
Hi, you two. It's Eve. One or two questions for you. First one is about, towards the end of your last podcast, you talked about using cash to pay for any repairs or renovations that you want to do. But how does that actually come about? Because I'm assuming that it's not like you're going to know ahead of time whether, for example, you're going to put a whole, another roof on it, like a metal roof, which I think you did with that one particular house. and, like a driveway, anything along those lines. I'm assuming it's kind of like, you envision it and then you budget it and then you save up for that. I guess I'm wondering, do you kind of save up ahead of time? Do you have a fund set separately where, that's like the dream money pot, so to speak? Or do you just, see what you want to do with the place once you're in a process of buying it and then decide, okay, this is what we're going to need to do. This is a sort of loan structure that we're going to need to fold these repairs and renovations into it. I'm just curious how that plays out, especially in context of whether that's considered like a second home, and also whether if that's folded into the mortgage, the tax implications of that, since in some cases, well actually most cases, mortgages are tax deductible. So that's the first question that I have. Other question that I have is more along the lines of, what are three small things, like the small detail things that you feel that your past, your present, and your future clients have stayed at one of your houses? What do they seem to like about those little touches the most? What stands out? Maybe you could shout out the top three. As I indicated, I'm probably going to open an Airbnb in a rambling farmhouse, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And it's more along the lines of like anything, quote unquote, worthwhile doing is like a country mile away. I mean, for example, the nearest gas station is roughly about a 5-minute drive or so. So we're not, and it's probably longer than that, more like 7 minutes or so. So it ain't close to really anything. In any event, so that's it. And thanks again for everything you do. Bye.
Yeah, so the first question, thanks for calling, Eve, is, okay, do we have like a fund when we need to do a renovation? So yeah, absolutely. Like, we now know we're doing a full renovation on a home. So, I mean, we have a fund that we keep having to build,
Right, we're building it.
Sure. And, and part of that is just like when you work for it yourselves, there are not regular paychecks coming in, so it's all about saving.
We save
money.
It all. But part of it too, so a good example was the roof. So how we went about that, number one, I will say this. There are a lot of people who say, this is how much the house costs, X amount, let's say $100K in an ideal world. But we're going to get a loan for $200K so we can gut this thing. Some people can do that. Some people can qualify for that much. That's not what we did.
Right. All right. I mean, I think we could borrow money to fix a place up, but I think for us, we borrowed money to buy the place and we don't want to get in even more debt. And it just makes us feel good. Like, I'd rather sacrifice now, like, not buying nice cars and, like we save our money. We're investing it in our business. Once it's done, it's all paid off. And then we reap the benefits from that.
But just getting back to the roof where we had saved some money, then we got quotes from people. And we decided the person we wanted, and we liked the quote he had. And so there's two things you can do. You have the money already, or you're going to have that money soon, or you say, we'll be ready in 2 months. Then we'll have the money. Can you do this in 2 months? That's a way to do it. Instead of like, he did the job and now he wants to get paid and I don't have that money. Like there is a process of doing it. But we've learned that process over time. This is the third house we've redone. So now we know how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, just when we're doing these projects, like all of our money goes into it.
Yeah.
I mean, like this is like
every penny.
A1 number one priority.
Right.
And,
right.
But it's good. I mean, like the other two houses that we have, the renovations are completely paid for. And that's great for us.
Exactly.
So what are the top three things that people like most about our place?
Right.
Or I guess any place. But I have my three. How about you?
You say yours and I'll see if those were the ones I was
Number one.
Of.
It's my opinion, kitchen. People like having a full kitchen.
Yes.
Where they can walk in there and everything is there, where they could cook a full gigantic meal if they want to. All the little details are there. I think that's very important, and people have commented on that many times.
Many times.
Spices, condiments, oil,
salt and pepper. all that. Plenty of plates and platters
Right.
and spoons and
all that
blah,
stuff.
blah.
Number 2, I think people like our place because it's secluded. But really it's like its location. And I know that that's, well, that's really obvious. But I think that that's not a common thing. And when you're buying a rental house to rent, it's hard to find a place that's really kind of in a good area.
Yeah.
It's easy to find places and there are people right next door to you. We found a place that's really secluded that has a big piece of property and then there's no houses around there.
Right.
People always, it's mentioned that. I mean, the flip side would be if you have a place that's like right by a nice street of restaurants or something, I mean,
Yeah, location is a good location. It's not, exactly.
And then number 3, king size bed.
Yep.
Our master bedroom has a king size bed. I think people think they're really getting pampered. I think very few people seem to pamper themselves at home to have a king size bed. I think a lot of people have queens. So when you get on a king size bed, people are like, wow, I'm like, this is luxury.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of places where they just have a queen size bed. And I'm just like, there's room for a king. And kings are not that much more. Really, you can find a good deal. So king size bed. Okay, so my 3, I think I only have 2. My first one was, and this seems small, but amenities. Making sure you have everything that people need. You have soap, you have shampoo, you have dental floss, things that people were like, oh, I forgot to bring that. Here it is.
You laughed at me. It's when I put dental floss in. People love it.
You know what sucks? When we travel and we don't have dental floss and you have to go buy it. It's like, ooh.
And I want to be real clear here. I do not mean like have a bottle of champagne on ice for
nothing.
people. Have some roses.
I'm not talking about champagne. I'm talking about barbecue sauce.
Right.
Like those kinds of things where you're like, someone's coming to the country, they want to grill, they don't want to have to buy all this stuff.
It's not like a chocolate on the pillows.
No, not that. That stuff does not matter.
Like rose petals on the bed.
No, it's the basic amenities that you're like, I'm not at home, but I want those little things.
I want to live like I'm at home,
right.
But I don't want to have to bring my home.
Right.
It's with me. I don't want to have to go and buy a thing of salt and a big thing of oil for like 2 nights.
Right.
Yeah.
Coffee, tea, creamer, stuff like that. It's so simple. It's so cheap. People go crazy. Okay, so that's my first one. My second one is the quality of materials that you use when you're renovating things. It's more expensive, yes, but people notice. They notice that you did not get cheap with your tile, with your tub, with your kitchen sink, with your fixtures. People notice that stuff and they feel like, I paid X amount a night for this. The weekends for us are $300 a night in the summer. They're like, great, I got my money's worth.
I mean, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I think too, a lot of people, especially like middle class people, like we're middle class, or a lower working middle. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
Whatever we are. But, I think a lot of people, they don't invest a lot in their home. They buy a house and they have all these dreams of fixing it up, but then they move in and life happens and they have their kids.
Yeah.
So, their house is just like, it's like a work in progress.
Right.
They always have these dreams, but it never really happens because they just don't have time and money. They like to come to a place where someone's actually...
They've done that.
Done what they wish they had done to our own house.
Right.
We've had many reviews where people are like, I wish my house could be like this because it has all those little details.
Right. Exactly.
It's designed,
It's designed.
So
you have the chance to do that. We always say, it's the labor of doing things is going to cost the same whether you use a cheap faucet and vanity or you use a nice one. Sure, it's going to cost more, but people notice that. And
if you're a scavenger like us, and if you have enough time, you can find all the expensive fixtures for cheap. That stuff is out there. You just have to look for it. Never pay retail.
Yeah, you'll never pay. I mean, that's the thing, too, is like, if you're looking on eBay, looking at estate sales, looking at, closeout sales, you can find those expensive, nice things that are quality that will last 10 times as long as the cheap faucet you bought. And you can get it cheap. So you got to do it.
Hi,
Hi, yes, my name is Jessica. I listen to you guys' podcast, and I was listening to the second to the latest one about whether or not you should hire a cleaner, and you guys were wanting to know who hires cleaners for their vacation rental. Yeah, my vacation rental's in North Carolina, and I live in Texas. We just put on Airbnb end of April. So we got our first booking end of April, and I got pretty much everything I'm doing was modeled after what you guys do, because I found your podcast and modeled it after that. So our area is very, very rural, but the only thing we have that's of note that people want to go to, not the only, but like the main draw is we live near a major golf resort, Pinehurst, North Carolina. But we're about 30 minutes away from the big golf resorts, and there's tons of vacation properties around the golf resort. So ours wouldn't be the first pick. However, we're on 3 acres. We're in the country. It's very wooded. We have a cute little cottage that's about 800 square feet. We've like custom designed every detail, copper kitchen sink. I have French doors that are stained turquoise. I just pretty much, it was my house. I lived there for 6 years, and then I've turned it into a vacation rental. But anyway, so I wasn't sure if anybody would rent the place. So what we did is we already had a couch, and we had one bed. So we took a picture of the living room and one bedroom and put it on Airbnb, and within 2 days got a booking, and we knew this would be viable. So at that point, we took the plunge, and we went ahead and just put about $3,000 into furnishing everything, getting everything ready with dishes and whatnot, and put it on Airbnb. So our first month out of the gate, with 1 week not being available, May was our first month out of the gate, 1 week not available, we turned about, just on our major operating expenses, a $250 profit. So, and that's including, because we don't live in the state, that's including property management fees that we pay a couple. We don't hire a professional company or anything like that. We found that we know a couple that are looking for work. And so I modeled it after what you guys do, and I just pay them 20% of the bookings, and they clean the place. They're like basically on call for anything that needs, anything anybody might need. I told them that all the decorations have to be exactly like the pictures that I've posted on Airbnb. Don't change anything from that. Secondly, I wrote a house manual. So I went room by room and said exactly how I wanted it cleaned and where I want things placed, the inventory of the dishes, et cetera, et cetera. I follow that down to the T. That's basically it. I was just very specific about where I wanted things. And they send me pictures every now and again. So if I end up sending I had to send a new duvet cover, I want to see what it looks like and how they put the pillows, et cetera. And they send it to me. Maybe that's a little OCD, but it isn't. I just finished my first month, so I'm trying to be very particular about the way, I'm just very particular right now about the way I want things, but I'll probably let the reins loose a little bit as time goes on. Anyway, I got most of my advice from you guys, and I've been modeling after that. And, I also am building a second small building. Y'all's is called a writer's cabin, and ours is actually going to be a tiny house that's going to sleep 2 more people. So we'll also have sleep 6, and it's on 3 acres. It's mostly wooded. If you want to look at our property, it's in Carthage, North Carolina. There's only like one there, and the other one is just a private room. But it's Carthage, North Carolina, and it's called Cozy 2BR Cottage in the Woods. BR meaning bedroom. Cozy 2-bedroom cottage in the woods. Anyway, thanks for the show. You guys rock. And I hope you guys keep getting lots of bookings. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
So, yeah, I checked out your rental, and it's so cute.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, really, again, it's always amazing to me when I look at places and they look designed.
Yeah, it's
well
designed.
Thought out.
Yes.
It's not just going to Lowe's and just grabbing stuff just off the shelf, and not just going to like a thrift store and just getting the cheapest stuff and throwing it as in jumbo. Well thought out. That stuff makes, that is, an important part, I think. But that's a cool story. It sounds like you did, you really thought about it and you did it right, and it's cool to hear,
It's great. I'm glad that the stuff that works for us is working for someone else.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool.
And I really like that idea because I think it feels fair to everyone when you like when we have a friend take care of our place when it's
Right.
gone, we just give him a percentage.
Right.
So that way he feels like, I think he's getting a piece of the action.
Right.
And he feels like he has a reason to solve any kind of problems.
Right,
rather than
exactly.
if we were just to give him a set, like
a set cleaning fee and
or
then
something.
Yeah, exactly. We feel good about it. He feels good about it, and that works for us. So we're super psyched to hear that that's working for you.
Thanks for calling in about the story.
Okay, so that's it for this podcast today. You can check out the blog at shampooandbooze.com for links we discuss and to join the conversation. Again, if you have a question or a comment or a story, you can call our voicemail line. It's 540-407-8486. And we post an episode every Monday morning. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube, and you'll always get the latest episode. And if you want to, you can listen to our other podcast where we talk about how we sell stuff that we scavenge online to fund our renovations, and that's at scavengerlife.com. Bye!
See ya.